Okay, and we are live, and Sonia is going to come join me for a conversation. I worked with Sonia just now at Covent Garden Royal Opera House, and we did together a beautiful. So Sonia is here, a beautiful poem, an amazing poem, and you might have all the Tosca that we did at the Met together. And this Tosca is now. Hi, it's Sonia. I was just saying our Tosca is just playing now on the night live stream of the Metropolitan Opera.
Yeah.
Have you watched it?
No, but but we did it so many times. You remember there were 8 or 9 shows, so I remember every minute of it.
Yeah. Do you like to watch you? Do you like to hear yourself? How are you dealing with that?
No, not that much. I don't really listen. At least if they don't oblige me, from Sony Classico, they send you some master and you have to say yes or no, then I have to really listen to it. But I don't like to hear myself. I
Yeah,
think I'm
I
like
don't know
every
any.
person.
Yeah, I don't know any singer, any good singer, I should add, that likes to hear himself or herself. We are all incredibly critical with what we hear. But so
Yeah,
how,
you're never happy. Yeah.
yeah. So that Tosca was quite a story. I mean, the background was even outside of us, the performers. Before that, it was obviously a big thing for the Met and for Peter Gelb trying to really change gears a little after the Tosca of Luc Bondy, which I thought was a good Tosca, but that's another story. And
I didn't
and
even see it.
it and then the Tosca with David was supposed to be, a little more pleasing for the eyes, but still with a great integrity. Um, then we
I
know
really
there was.
enjoyed this Tosca, I should say. I enjoyed because David had a really interesting point of view. He told me since the first time we talked on the phone, he said, I want a young Tosca. And I couldn't agree more, because this is what is the point. She's a young woman and she's a star, and that's why she's so desired by everybody.
Hmm. And was somehow your first Tosca? Or you can say it now if it
That
was.
was the first task I did. Yeah, absolutely.
So
Me and the Met, it's kind of a crazy story because I debuted mostly of my repertoire on the stage of the Met.
right,
That's so
and
funny.
there used to be a rule with houses like the Paris Opera or the Scala or the Met that whatever your name is, how big it is, you cannot debut a role there. But the career now has changed so much, and the business is so fast that yes, I debuted to some roles. Some roles, not some roles, some operas in big opera houses. Usually, you don't say it; you just do it. What are your models then when you prepare for such a role as Tosca? I mean, beside Callas and so on, how do you deal with that?
Oh, I knew Tosca for a long time. It was my dream role. I always wanted to do it. And I should say, when I was pregnant with my first child, with Matteo, by the end of the pregnancy, my husband started to conduct a new production in Berlin Staatsoper. So I had plenty of time. I didn't have anything to do than waiting for my baby. So I was every day at his rehearsals. So that was very interesting because I could learn the part and see and understand where the difficulties and how to deal with that and where to sing what and how. It's different, of course, for every kind of voice and every type of voice. Soprano, we are so different. But it was interesting for me just to see the tricky moments of it. And
Did you? So you came very well prepared, especially considering all the stress of that production. As we know, things were last minute, and then we could rehearse, we could not rehearse, and so on. You were very well prepared, but there are things you cannot prepare. I mean, it's the same thing for me. If I do an opera for the first time or a symphony for the first time, it's only during the concerts that I realize, oh, that's what's happening here. There are those very special moments, pockets of poetry and music that you can experience only in the action. what did you learn about Tosca or about yourself during this first Tosca experience you had at the Met?
What was interesting for me was that by the end of the run, maybe the sixth or seventh show, I started to deal with it like I was at home, you know, finally. Because
Right.
the first performance is never really the one that you enjoy the most for all of us. I mean, we're all the time under stress, and that was a big gala opening. You remember it was 31st of December, so a lot of pressure. Everybody was waiting for it. And I really started to enjoy by the sixth and the seventh show. And what I learned is that I didn't have to give it all. I just had to, you know, to take some distance from this lady because she's dangerous. I mean, vocally dangerous.
So have you done the role since then? Are you planning on doing it again?
Yes, I was supposed to do it now in Vienna, and then I was supposed to do it in London later after the summer, but we're all on standby, so we don't know how it is going to be.
Of course, of course. So you say taking distance. So there are two aspects to this. There is the parallel or the way the vocal technique and demands interact with the dramatic demands, but there is also the kind of actor you are. Are you an actor? Let's start with that. Are you an actor that feels the emotion, or are you an actor that likes to take distance from the emotion? Are you Stanislavski? Are you Brecht? What's your school there?
Well, you know, that's my problem forever. I mean, since ever, I like to give it all, and in all the performances, it was hard for me to deal with the sensation that I have to find the right proportion of voice or acting somewhere, because you're so much into the action, and these stories are so kind of
Extreme.
real, you know, yeah, extreme as well. I mean, killing someone, how can you kill someone, even if it's on stage, retaining your emotions? I mean, you have to go for it. And it was always hard for me, even in other titles like Traviata or even, but I cannot help it, you know. By the end of the opera in Traviata, I always cry. So
Right, right. And so anger up to wanting to kill someone.
mm.
You
Well,
have to
it
relate to
happens every
that.
day.
That happens every day. Oh, you're married. I forgot. Yes, of course. But
Yeah, no.
so how do you get there? I mean, do you think like she thinks, like Floria Tosca thinks, or do you tap into a personal anger, or you just let it go? How do you find this?
Well, in every performances I did of Tosca, I really hated him. You know, it was this person, my dearest colleague,
Yeah, he's
in the
so
first.
sweet, Lucic, in
Zerko,
real life.
yes, she's so amazing. And you know, when we are backstage, we're just best friends. And I mean, he's talking almost the same language as mine because he's coming from Serbia and I'm coming from Bulgaria. So it's another complicity. But when we got on stage, I was really hating him. And
Right.
that's always the sensation, you know. That's why we singers, we are kind of living many lives in one.
Sure, sure. And we are actually expanding our own emotion through those roles. And I think we get probably bigger and deeper emotionally, which can bring us into trouble in our personal lives too, because we're just used to move from this to that.
Oh,
And
it's so hard for me to come back on the ground afterwards.
right.
I don't know if it happens to you when you come back home and
Yeah.
you can't really sleep and you're under adrenaline, right?
Right, right. And what about, so we talk about anger and hatred. Where do you find love easily on stage?
Oh, that's the that's the how to say, the real question. Well, yes, when I was younger, it was also very hard to control that because when I started in the business, you know, I was with my eyes open like this, and for me, those shows happening were just they were a miracle. I couldn't believe I was there, and
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't believe that those emotions were possible in my body and in my voice and all this control, all this adrenaline that was giving me so much pep. So yeah, it happened to me that I lose my mind on stage and I say, okay, that's the man of my life. But 10 minutes later, I understand it's not true.
And if your husband, for instance, is conducting or is in the audience and there is another tenor, how do you deal with that? Is that a problem?
No, never, because my husband, he's from the business. I mean, he's in our industry. He's seeing this every day. He conducts opera himself. And of course, this never happens to him, thanks God.
Right.
But he's used to it. I mean, when we met, he knew I was a singer, I was an actress, so I have to be on stage, and I sometimes I have to kiss the guys.
Right.
Yes.
And you have to do it convincingly and with all your heart and all your lips. Very important. Tosca
and believe well we fake it many times. We fake it many times, but
many times I hear
because
not all the time.
Not all the times, because sometimes it just happens, you know.
Okay. Yeah, I was just saying that Tosca is one of those roles in the repertoire where, in a way, the person playing that role, because she is a diva, he is also the very diva that is singing that role. That means in that case, Maria Callas, Angela Gheorghiu, Sonia Yoncheva. So people and there are very few roles like this, at least in traditional opera, where you really are going to see that performer with its or her personality in this. So people came to see Sonia Yoncheva, the diva, playing Floria Tosca, the diva, in this production. How do you deal with this? And do you know who that diva is compared to who you are as a person?
Yes, I always wanted to escape from this kind of, because, you know, I never liked the fact that everybody's talking about Tosca like an arrogant diva. Instead, I wanted to think that she's a loving, young, very talented woman, and passionate. And that's how, you know, that's how I arrived to the point that she really loves her Mario, and she would kill for him. I mean, it's not only arrogance or only rage. It's much more than this. It's passion.
Right. And this translates, I think, beautifully in your interpretation, and it's a very personal interpretation. You're bringing a certain softness to her, an authenticity, and the energy that is incredible, because it goes to murder, comes from sheer love. And you really feel that very strongly. So you are making from this character, which is quite impressive and can be somehow, you know, very off-putting in some way.
Yeah, Tosca can be sometimes even some people hating Tosca for this reason, and it's wrong.
Yeah, just calm down, you know, just exactly. But what I bring, we just did a wonderful Bohème in Covent Garden, and I thought that was somehow a little the opposite, in the sense that Bohème is always played Mimi, that childish, very shy woman who is being carried by the events. You show her as much more determined, knowing where she is going. She's very, of course, very genuine. She doesn't have the same kind of muscles as Floria Tosca, but you make her absolutely likable, but not a weak little flower that's going to blow away. Was that a conscious choice?
Oh yeah, totally. Because when I started learning Mimi, well, I didn't have much time to learn it, because I had, I think, basically 10 days to learn it when I debuted it. But I knew Mimi, of course, because I performed it in concerts, part of it, many times. And it was, you know, I started always from one of the very last words she says. She says, "I love you." And she's dying. And I thought, she has the force to say it, dying, and he is alive, and he is in a fantastic shape, and he never ever dared to say to her, "I love you, and I will give everything for you." So that's why I believe that Mimi was really strong. Really,
Mm-hmm.
really, she had this strength of the extreme love and the willing to offer her life for for her lover. That
Right.
was really, that was always my choice. I never liked the childish, also because she's not that childish. I mean, she's quite experienced. She had lovers
Mm-hmm.
before him, and I mean, she was demi-mondaine, as we say, no?
Yes, she was. She
Like
was
Musetta.
definitely a demi-mondaine, and it's like Traviata. You know, she was quite almost a prostitute. And when you say that to some opera fans, it's, oh my God, no, 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 she's like La Madonna. Well, no, she's not.
No,
Let's
she's not.
She's not. So let's go back to this. You know, the way of acting. You are being very honest in your acting. You tap in emotions. You try to control them at the same time, not to be totally overwhelmed by them. And vocal technique compared to acting, how does that work? Do you think before Visidate, oh my God, there is this high note, which is so difficult at the end, and if I do this now, I'm going to get in trouble? Do you totally forget everything to just think technique? How do you balance all of those balls in the air?
Well, for Visidarte especially, I think I have to think maybe um, 20 pages before that Visidarte is coming.
Yeah.
This because, you know, what Puccini wrote and this extremely hard scene between her and Scarpia. This is so
Mm-hmm.
violent,
Mm-hmm.
vocally and dramatically. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you are engaged physically totally in this, and you can't really fake it. So I had to be very wise and to choose the right way to hit the high notes, to the right way to pronounce in the low passage of my voice, in the low part of my voice, because this can be also very tiring. The medium for me was never a problem, so I pretty much enjoy when I can stay there for a while. But yes, the low notes and the high notes, those extreme parts of my voice, I wanted to preserve somehow so that I have the freshness and to do Visidarte in the right way, which I believe is something very internal, something very inside of her, and not the exteriorizated prayer kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, that was my way of dealing
Okay.
with Visidarte. But
But during the performance, you actually think, okay, today the voice is comfortable. I can take a little more time, or I better move. I better not push because I have this high B flat or B natural coming. That's the way it's working.
oh yeah, and also because you depend a lot of your shape, and we're not every
Right.
day the same. And what is also interesting is that you don't do it once, you do it 8, 9, sometimes 10 times if you have redress, dress rehearsal. So you always have to find a way to be in kind of good shape till the end. And you know, sometimes you're not. For instance, the day of the HD, we all woke up at 9:30 in the morning,
Right.
which is sunrise for singers.
Right. So talking of vocal technique, you were born in Bulgaria, correct? And
Yeah.
you started studying in Bulgaria, or then you studied in France and in Switzerland, correct?
I studied in Geneva, yes, and lately I debuted in France, in Paris, with Baroque singing with
Right.
William Christie, and
And
that was basically my
yeah,
way.
like Nathalie Dessay too, who made that change. You know, she was with les Arts Florissants, and then she moved to the another rep. What did that teach you that is still valuable for you now as a singer, singing Baroque music?
The way of reading my scores, just simply as that. Well, first of all, I was a pianist before, so my first education is pianist, and then I moved to singing, so that gave me a lot of
Bass.
experience. Yeah, and the way of reading the score, if you are a pianist, is quite different than if you don't play the piano, right? That was a huge advantage for me, and I thank God and my mother that she insisted that much. But later on, the Baroque was very important because all of a sudden, you know, you maybe know how in the Baroque music we're so disciplined. We have to know every trill, every ornament, where it's coming from, why this note
And you have to
was
think,
chosen
you have
for.
to think the text constantly. You have to reappropriate the text and question the text. Yeah,
And why the composer choose exactly this word
exactly.
with this harmony and this note and with those instruments. And those are the ways that you deal with Baroque music. And this somehow I just took it and moved it as a habit, you know, in my later
Right.
experience.
And technically, the voice placement, the support, the projection, and all of this, is it just that your voice grew, or you had to engage secret resonators that you were not using before, push a different way, or were you a different singer?
Yes, I was a different well, she was already amazing in Geneva. Ah, Tom,
Yeah.
salut!
But also,
I
Javier
was so happy
Camarena was
for
here. I don't know if he's still here. He
yeah.
just waved to both of us. A lot of great friends and fans and colleagues
Yeah,
here.
that's cool. That's very cool. Well, no, you know, always had different colors in my voice. I was a jazz singer before as well, and that was something I pretty much enjoyed. And later on, I moved to Baroque singing. I found that the jazz and Baroque, they have so many similar stuff, like swinging or the harmonies sometimes in the instruments. Um, and then later, I had already the experience, of course, singing Mozart, Verdi, Puccini, but I never did it on stage. And when I
Mm-hmm.
had to deal with that, I simply was listening to my instinct, and not only all of the experience I had as a chorister, for instance, in the Grand Théâtre de Genève. I was in Geneva in the chorus, and that was interesting for me because I could hear so many soloists coming for different productions: Wagner, Mozart, Baroque, Monteverdi, or early,
Mm-hmm.
you know, romantic music. And this gave me kind of my taste for the music, or what I like or what I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
And when you were in the chorus, was your voice sticking out? And was the chorus matters? Please, Sonia, it's not a solo. No, you were blending nicely.
I was too young. I was only 23, and I was kind of a rabbit, as we say, a lapin.
Right.
And it was I was very I was obeying quite, you know. I was very serious in what I was doing, because for me that was my
Sure.
world. I didn't have anything else to do. And no, my voice was not going out, but I remember they soon started to give me some solo parts, and that was very exciting. That was my first
Mm.
experience. I was so happy, so happy.
So that was before you went with Les Arts Florissants, correct?
Yeah, that was quite before. Yeah.
And then what makes you, while you were with Les Arts Florissants? So for the people who don't know, Les Arts Florissants is one of the most important Baroque group,
Mm.
and we started somehow a lot of the developments of the Baroque music under the leadership of William Christie, who is an American conductor, musicologist who lives in France. I think he might have the double nationality now.
He does,
And
yes.
who really did so much for this genre, and very advanced thinking of the score, and usually with very good staging too, with a very strong theatrical value, quite authentic most of the time, trying to recreate the atmosphere of the time. But how did you know, okay, I have to move to something different, I have to move to other roles, I have to move out of the Baroque? Did they try to keep you? Did you say, no, I want to grow up, I want to go somewhere else? How did that happen?
Yeah, there was everything, because you know, when I already had my name in the Baroque field, and I actually had a stamp on my face that I'm a
Right.
Baroque singer. And you know, singers will understand how hard it is for everybody. I mean, if you're a Baroque singer, you're basically not able to sing any other music. And one day, Operania came to my life, you know, the big competition organized by Placido. And I applied for this, and I presented myself, and that was basically the door for me to the other world. And that's where all these directors of the theater said, oh, okay, she can sing some Massenet, she can sing some Mozart, that's good, let's
Right.
have it was
Right.
always very hard. It was a fight, you know. It was a fight. You always have to confirm to everybody and every day. And this is still today. I mean, if I have to go on stage tonight, I have to have the confirmation that I did well.
Right. and also go out of the box in which people have put you, you know. I mean, this is the same thing for us conductors. If I
Yeah.
do French music, I can get a pass on almost anything I do, even if it's not exactly the way it should be. Oops. But if I do a Bruckner or a Brahms, yeah, he can do this, but it sounded a little French, and which might have just an element of truth, but usually it's not true, and people have a hard time thinking outside of that box. On the other hand, there are sometimes decisive moments in your career where people say, "Oh, he can actually do this," and Operalia has done a lot for a lot of singers, and not only the one who plays first, second, or third in the competition, but all of a sudden you have all these artistic directors of all the major companies in the world, and they can hear you, and this has really changed the field, and this has accelerated in a good way a lot of careers and changed. So kudos again for Placido to be so involved in this with extraordinary vision of his. Then, you know, now you are a star. How?
Kind of.
Yeah, you are. So how is that pressure affecting your performing or your personal life? How do you deal with this? Because when people go to the Met, Covent Garden, the Scala, they want to hear the Sonia Yoncheva that they know about, not maybe
Mm.
the Sonia Yoncheva you feel vocally and emotionally today. How do you deal with that pressure?
You know, it took me time to understand myself, also to understand who I am as an artist, and to understand what I always knew what I really wanted, but I didn't really know because I had many possibilities of how to perform this or that. So um, it's it's a very tricky question because I'm not really sure that I'm still used to this
Mm-hmm.
pressure. There is always something really exciting when you are according when you are starting a new part, when you are debuting something, and that's quite of a pressure, but there is a huge percentage of pleasure as well. So it's a very mixed sensation in your
Right.
body, your voice. Um, I don't know if I want to lose that because I feel it's kind of addictive and I like it. It's the real adrenaline. It's the sport part of our job. But in the same time, many times I found myself lately, above all now after having my second child, just going on stage without caring about what people will think or what I will even think, and without judging myself that much. And that's really a good point because all of a sudden you have so many perspective in front of you. You can imagine yourself and not be afraid of be what you think.
Right, right. This is so true, and we sometimes we judge ourselves up to the point that we are totally
Too much.
blocked,
I
blocked.
always wanted to do the perfect music, you know, that was my problem always. Because every time I go on my piano or I'm studying something, and I always want to find this
Right.
ah, le concert d'Astrée, bonjour. Oh, ça
Mm-hmm.
me fait plaisir. I always wanted to hit that perfect point, you know, and it's very difficult to have that
Right.
all the time.
So
Very
so
difficult.
for us as conductors, I think you know we get judged first by the musician in the orchestra. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
there you know I mean your husband
you have a hard job.
probably
Yeah.
talk. So it's a and sometimes they have an idea of who you are even before you go on that podium because they have
Mm-hmm.
heard, because they think, because of your haircut, whatever, because the production you are of the production you're doing. And my answer to that is quite similar to yours, which is stick to your passion, knowledge, connection with the music and with the score. And if you are at least in tune with that and honest with that and totally committed to that, independently of the kind of reaction you have, the bad look or the trick question you have, in the end, even the naysayers are going to respect that. and they are
Well,
going to work.
important is to believe in yourself, right?
Yes,
Important is
believe in
what you.
yourself and believe in your knowledge of that specific craft and score. And so then you do
Absolutely.
the best you can in that circumstances. And if they still don't like you, well, it says something not about you, it says something about them most of the time. And I think this is working very well. Of course, that means you need to have confidence in your craft. You need to know your score. I mean, I know I'm more nervous when I don't know my score going to a rehearsal than if I really know a score. That's kind of obvious, which makes difficult, as we said, those prise de rôle the first time you do something. When you were in Geneva, who were your teachers, and do you still have a teacher? How do you keep yourself vocally informed? Do you check on this?
Yes, my teacher, I mean, we don't work that much together because I was always traveling, and she's in Geneva and she doesn't like really much to travel, but she's following me on all kind of medias in the cinema as well. And sometimes she would call me, her name is Danielle Box.
Uh-huh.
And we just talked before I was in my garden, and she was so sweet. And she always calls me, after an HD, and she would say, I think I just really enjoyed how you did that here, but tell me, how did you feel? Do you think that you can do this role afterwards? And these are kind of inspirations I got from her, also because I trust her 100%. She's like my mother, almost,
Mm-hmm.
in the musical field, let's say it like.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And yeah, I basically work myself alone. I like the moments with my piano, my score. I start to learn something, and it's never a preparation of, oh my God, let's hit this high note, or let's do this phrasing in that way, so I write it. No, it just comes with the musicality, and it comes with the instinct and with the knowledge about the music and how you like to play it and to sing it with your instrument.
So, are there roles that you think you are going to sing in the future, but you just say it's a little too early? Do you calculate that? Do you pace that? Do you have enough clout, I suppose, okay,
No,
to
I'm
ask?
not that kind of.
Yeah, you not say, I want to
It's
do
never
Macbeth
it's
in
never too
7 years.
early. It's
Yeah.
never too early. I
Uh-huh.
believe that or you have it in the voice or you don't, and it's not that today. I cannot imagine being. It depends how you feel about the part. For me, it was very important who the woman is, like
Uh-huh.
with Tosca, and what can I say about her? And is it something precious? Is it something that people will remember for a long time, or it will be just another Tosca, whatever?
Okay, but still there are voice types. You're not going to
Yeah.
sing Olympia, and
No.
probably exactly. So probably you're not going to sing tomorrow the Imperatrice in the Frauner Schatten. So how do you know? If a role fits within what you can do.
It's
You know.
the age. I felt with my two pregnancies, and now being a mother, also being a woman. I'm 38 years old. I don't hide it. And with this, and with this kind of maturity, I could really understand what I can face and what I can do. How can I deal with different parts that I probably didn't imagine. But I was always very kind of bold in choosing, but I always had the right feeling about it. When I started with Norma, everybody said, "Oh my God, she's crazy to do it,"
I
and I
remember
said,
that. Yeah.
"Yeah," but I
I
said, "But
remember
why
people
not?"
telling me, "Oh, it's too early for her. She should not do this. It's too tense vocally. She's amazing. She will sing it, but she will sing it once, and so on." Sorry.
Yeah, I know that all these things they came to me as well, because what was really interesting is when I accepted Tosca and the world knew about it, I received at least 7 calls from 7 different directors of operas telling me, "You are crazy."
Right. Don't do
But
that. Yeah.
I was so convinced that I have to start with this part now, because I don't want to face it when I am too old already, and when the vocal problems of another type will start, because you know, we all know that women, we are hormonal balls and everything is changing with age.
So talking of hormones and age and motherhood, how did that having one child, two child, how did that affect your singing positively or negatively or both?
Well, you see, before my first child, I was singing Olympia. And after my first child, I started with Norman Tosca. And it's all because my body changed, my mind changed, my experience was much more important. So I said to myself, why not? I like this woman. I like Norma. I like Medea. Oh my
Yes,
God.
of
Such
course.
an
She's
animal.
killing
Wow.
your kids, but of course we like her. This is all of these intense things. And specifically, for instance, okay, people say hormones makes the voice warmer and so on, but then there is the all the question of the support with the muscles of the abdomen and so on. Did you have to exercise or did you have to do no, it just happened?
No, it just happened. It just came on the right place. Even with the babies, what was better.
Yeah,
When I was
okay.
pregnant already was
Oh yeah,
better.
that I have heard from a lot of your colleagues. Like at the middle or toward the end of the pregnancy, this is the best moment to sing.
Oh, it's amazing. Yes, it gives you so much satisfaction. It's quite difficult to breathe because you were maybe 30 kilos more than what you have to be.
Right.
But and also in the summer, that was the big problem for me, because with the heat, it was, I could faint in every moment. And I remember doing this gala at La Scala with
Mm-hmm.
Jonas, Placido, Gustavo. There
Okay,
was
show off now. Show off.
yeah,
Show off.
everybody.
Yeah.
And I was just there, and yes, I was singing with Juan Diego Flores, and we were doing the Romeo and Juliet duet, and we were. I took my breath and I said, "Okay, I see double Scala in front of me." And it was so hard, and this heat, and all these people watching you, and
Yeah, and a pregnant Juliet, which is a problem too.
of course, of
You know.
course. But you know, we are fighters. We're strong. We're
Sure.
when you are a mother to be, you're
Yeah. Yeah,
even more.
Anna was like this. Anna said, you know, I'm having a baby. I'm going to do this, and she didn't make. I mean, she's an incredible mother, as you know, and so dedicated.
Mm.
But she just said, I'm going to do it. She even at one point said, well, I've tried to lose weight, but happens doesn't happen. I'm going to do it. You know. So now having two children plus a husband, it's a lot of work. How do you
It's a
balance
lot of.
that with the career, especially when your husband is such an amazing artist too, having an international career himself? How do you balance this?
Well, when we were still working, it was kind of. It was very hard because sometimes we will not see us for 4 or 5 weeks, even
Mm-hmm.
more. And I was pregnant. I have the kid with me, Mateo, and I was singing all over the place. And thanks God, I have my mother all the time with me.
Uh-huh.
You know,
That's big.
since my dad passed away, she moved with us. So it was that was a very important thing for me, because I can really trust her and trust my kids.
Mm-hmm.
But since I have my kids and my husband, I feel I don't have any necessity and time to think about anything else than what's happening at home. And this is very healthy, because
Yeah.
sometimes I go to work and I say, oh, finally I will have a rest.
Right. Right, right. It
And
puts
if
things in
I mean,
perspective and you don't have the time to worry about certain things. And probably it makes you also a very strong mother because they see you are happy, they see what you do and so on. What's their age now of the two kids?
well,
What's the
my
age?
daughter is 6 months now,
Yeah.
and my son, he will be 6 in October.
So has he seen you on stage? How does he react when he sees you on stage?
Oh, you know, in the beginning was so hard because he would see me angry, or he would see me crying, and then he would not sleep all the night asking me questions. Why you throw this paper? Why this guy was kissing you? What happened here? I don't understand. I don't get it. And I had to explain him, and now he knows that it's a game. That's what I
Right.
told
Make
him.
believe. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, and that I am playing on stage, and this is my work. And last time he saw me was, I believe, in Pirata in Madrid. That was quite dramatic because she's dying in kind of she's totally
Yeah.
crazy, you
Mental
know?
states. Yeah.
Madness.
Yeah.
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 And he said, "Mommy, I don't get why your hair was all over the place, but you were singing very well. I
Good.
imagine
A
that."
critic. Yeah. you have a critic in the family.
Yeah, he's really sweet.
How do you leave these confinement times? Is I mean, your kids must be very happy. You are all together. You keeping busy, learning scores. What's your daily routine?
Well, that was the most positive thing in all this crisis, is that we finally got together, and um, we can be. Oh yeah, my husband is
Yeah, he
online. He
says
saw
he
me
saw the
there. Oh yes,
Medea.
he saw me there. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm such a bad mother. No, but he wanted to see it 3 times. That's true,
Oh, that's
because he
amazing.
didn't have enough of it. Yeah,
Right.
because the last scene was quite amazing with fires and stuff. So it was
Sure.
impressive. Yeah, the positive thing is that we're really at home, all of us, and we have a lot of time to be together and to appreciate each other. We never had any fights till now, which I think is very healthy.
Mm-hmm. Well,
It was very positive, but of course we're incredibly sad that we cannot be on stage.
yeah.
That's a tragedy, an absolute tragedy. But you
Yeah.
know, comparing to what other people are living now,
Right.
like losing their loved ones, and or
Right.
being in hospital, being sick. I heard that this
Right.
illness is really violent. So
It
I
is
believe
violent. And
yeah,
we
it
don't
is.
know obviously where we are going with this. From the perspective of our industry and our business, this is a cataclysm. I mean, it's kind of a catastrophe so far, and the problem is that probably we will be the last ones to reopen, and
Also,
we're not necessarily the one who are liked the most by the powers there. I mean, they want the airline industry to work, they want tourism to work, but probably will be at the end of that trail, which probably will be okay for you and me and people at a certain level, but it's going to be very hard for other people in the career who live from paycheck to paycheck and
oh,
who might
that's
have to take other jobs, and then when it starts again they won't be ready, they won't be just ready to take a role, and this is tragic, and I think we need to raise that awareness. um, Definitely being present online is extremely important, and I think for us as director of companies too, we need to show our relevance, we need to show this is not a sabbatical, we're still trying to connect to the audience, and some of this, I think, is going to prevail after this virus nightmare. And we need to do this, but this is a big shock. This is a big cataclysm. How do you deal with the social media? You were always quite good. I mean, I went, back into your Instagram, so on. You do it totally yourself. How much time do you take at it? Does it devour you? Do you spend 3 hours to write 2 notes, or you just go, okay,
no.
no, this?
I'm very natural. I mean, in Instagram, it's me taking care of. Facebook, I have my assistants work helping me with Facebook and Twitter and my website. But Instagram is kind of fun because I can really get to everybody directly. And sometimes I never think twice, when I have to say something. I just
Mhm.
write it down, and these are my thoughts. I think this is precious because it's a direct contact with all the human beings that are in my kind of community and my field, also classical music. I was very much concerned about the problematic of what the crisis created for us as singers and artists, and I was totally also
Worried.
shocked to see how many people are going to lose their job, and they don't have any economies to live with. So this is a huge tragedy, and I will do my best, and I'm already working on a project that can be a kind of small solution to
Right.
this
So,
devastation.
and it's very tragic or very difficult for freelancers, instrumentalists too, for instance. So, in Prague, we have created a fund to help, freelancers and also our orchestra and to everybody listening. I mean, you need to, if you can, to support the arts in general and to support some of those individual freelancers. It's this the stage is moving to the screen. The screen is the new stage, but there is nothing like a live performance.
There's nothing like a live
And I
performance.
think we will go back to this with a vengeance. It's going to be amazing. In the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, you should check in the night live stream of the Metropolitan Opera, where Sonia Yoncheva is a fearless but still soft Gloria Tosca. An amazing production. It's very well filmed. I have not seen it yet. Have you seen it at all, Sonia? Have you looked
I
at it,
saw
watched it?
just few of fragments of the fragments, because some
Yeah.
people were sending me on Instagram, and even when we did it HD, I didn't really have the chance to see it entirely. But yeah, it seems it was very good. The images are impressive, of course.
Yes.
I so much miss this, sensation of being on stage and the
Yeah.
air around us, and
Right.
this, and the audience that is completely freezed in their emotions, and they are following us, they're breathing with us. This is so precious.
This is very precious. We love you, Sonia. You are wonderful. Be safe, be well with your family and your amazing husband. And I hope we will do another Tosca soon, or maybe the Frau Neuschattel, the Imperatrice, because you say you are fearless, you do something. Well, maybe you find something in between before.
I will find something in between.
Okay.
Thank you, Manuel. It was such a pleasure.
Love you, and we'll
Love
see
you
each other
too.
very soon, I hope. Be safe. Bye.
Thank you. I've seen you. Seen your comments. I couldn't answer to all of you, but
Yeah,
yeah.
lot of nice comments. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Yes. Bye bye. Bye, darling.